Asian stocks gained for a second day, fueled by a global equity rally that saw markets from the US to Europe as well as Japan hit all-time highs. And what we're also seeing is that the buoyant outlook from Nvidia, which is the world's most valuable chip maker, also sent its shares at some point surging up 16% amid the AI mania. To give us perspective on the markets and also help us look back at the week that was, we are joined by Patrick Matidi, who is from Aluwani Capital. Patrick, thank you so much for your time. I mean, it's quite interesting to have a look at some of the themes and company news that came out this week, but what's driving markets right now?
Yeah, good afternoon and thanks for having me. I think there are a few things currently at the forefront of markets. So on the macroeconomic side, I think the bigger issue is obviously around interest rates. I know when are we likely to see the first rate cut? And there we have been looking at the authorities to give us some guidance, given what the market is pricing in. And I think the statements from some of the Fed officials overnight that yes, indeed, we will get rate cuts, but not as soon as the markets are anticipating. I think that was informative. But then also, from the companies that we can invest in, still looking at the global side, we are seeing very, very strong earnings numbers coming through. As you said in your intro, from the AI mania that has been driving markets. And there the big question is, how long can this, continue, given that, they also had a very strong performance last year. So the markets are sort of trying to figure out, is there more to come? And then domestically, I think, with the budget speech has come and gone, so not much drama there. But I guess now the question is, what now for South Africa from a growth point of view, and what are we then looking for leading up to the elections in May in terms of the sentiment and obviously the mood, within the country.
Yesterday, we had news of the Pick n Pay rights issue and also announcing plans to list Boxer. And we saw the share price react quite sharply. What do you make of the announcement around the rights issue, but also the plans to list Boxer?
Yeah, so Pick n Pay, has been fairly topical, for the last few months. You may recall, I think it was around September last year, they changed CEOs, which came as a shock to the market and announced that, the corporate stores or the Pick n Pay core business within the group has actually been disappointing and slowing down. That trend has continued, going into the festive season, and they have since come out, with I think yesterday with further news that from a guidance point of view, we are likely to see that trend continuing, post the festive season, and hence the need to have a rights issue. And the rights issue, simplistically put, is you're asking your shareholders to put more capital into the business because the business has since been weakened and it's got a lot of debt. The debt has doubled, from March last year, to now by about 3.2 billion, which is a big number. So indeed, they do need the rights issue, but I think, from a market point of view, this is another shock and surprise. If you look at the peers, the competitors, especially the likes of Shoprite, that continues to steal market share from the likes of Pick n Pay and Spar. So, it's a continuation of bad news, unfortunately. We did see the share price under quite a lot of pressure, yesterday, given the fact that it was also very weak for most of last year. I think it was down about 50% in last year, and then another 16% yesterday. Thankfully, today it seems like there is a little bit of buying coming through and recovering a little bit, about 3% up on the session. But overall, the news is not great. It just means that shareholders have to again, continue to find a strategy which maybe it has got some merit, but the results will take a while to come through from our perspective.
Coming into the week, one of the earnings we were looking forward to stateside was Nvidia. And I'm wondering, now that we've gotten the numbers and we've gotten the comments, how important were these numbers in the context of sentiment?
I think they were absolutely critical, especially given how, the so-called Magnificent Seven group of stocks have done, last year, which essentially have done the heavy lifting leading up to the US markets being at an all-time high. So it was important for the likes of Nvidia to come through with a very strong earnings, which then gives the market further comfort that indeed, there is a lot of growth still in the system, but also, these companies are not cheap. They're very, very expensive, from a valuation point of view. So you need, a lot of earnings growth to come through to can justify investors remaining invested. So given what they reported the last, few days, it would appear the markets are still happy with the growth path. And as you mentioned in the introduction, the share price move on the day, was quite phenomenal. And just in terms of US dollar terms, about 277 billion worth of value being created in one day, which is a vote of confidence, from the market, from the shareholders.
On Monday, we're expecting earnings out of Sasol, and they did mention that they're expecting their half-year profits to fall between 28 and 42%. What should the viewers pay attention to when those earnings come out, and especially when the CEO makes his comments?
I think there's a real risk that on Monday they may announce a cut in dividends. So that business, unfortunately, has been plagued by a whole lot of factors. Including the ESG side in terms of emissions, and operationally also, as evidenced by the trading update that they gave yesterday, it would appear that things are not, stacking up well for them. Now, we know that they do benefit from a high oil price, so those benefits, unfortunately, not coming through strong enough, given that the oil price itself has kind of been flat, on a year-to-date basis. So I think on Monday, if they come out and not announce a cut in dividends, I think that'll be a big win. But my guess is we are likely to see some pressure on the dividends, just given the poor operating environment they find themselves in.
Patrick, thank you so much for your time. That is Patrick Matidi, who is the head of equities at Aluwani Capital. As we started the week, we did mention that we're going to be focusing on three things, one of which was NVIDIA's earnings, which we did receive, but it was also around the market reaction to those earnings and what impact that would have on the NASDAQ 100. But we were also looking forward to the FOMC minutes, not forgetting the SA budget speech, in which we did see market reaction, not just when the minister was announcing that speech, but post that speech announcement. However, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a look at more of your news, so stay tuned.